Chapter 5.4, Point-Slope Form of an Equation. Your objective for this chapter is to be able to write and graph equations in point-slope form, and to be able to write equations from point-slope form into slope-intercept form. Alright, before we can get started, we have to talk about what point-slope form of an equation is, and that's going to be y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And that's like your recipe. And then your ingredients are going to be the point, x1, y1, that's your point, and then your slope, which is your m. Okay, that's where the word point-slope form comes from, because you plug in a point, you plug in your slope. So for example 1, we are given a point and a slope, and they want us to write the equation of the line. So point-slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. We're going to plug in our stuff. So we're going to say y minus the y in the point, which is 6, equals m, which is the slope, negative 5, times x minus the x in the point, which is negative 3. So that's going to be minus negative 3. Then we simplify. So y minus 6 equals negative 5 times x plus 3, because minus and negatives add the opposite. And that's your final answer. Guided practice number 1, I want you to plug in the point and the slope into point-slope form, which is y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. Pause the video and resume it when you have your answer. Okay, you're going to plug in negative 4 for y1, m's going to be 2/3, and x1's going to be 8. So your equation should be y minus negative 4 equals 2/3 times x minus 8. Simplify minus a negative and you get y plus 4 equals 2/3 x minus 8. Before we take another step, I want you to notice that when my coordinate is negative, it's going to end up being plus in my equation. But when it's positive, it's going to end up being minus. It happened over here too. My coordinate was negative 3, but it was plus 3 in my equation, and it was positive 6, but it was minus 6 in my equation. Example 2, we're going to graph point-slope form. So we have our equation y minus 1 equals 2/3 times x minus 2. We're going to first find our point. So our x is the number with the x, and our y is our number with the y. But our signs are opposite. So I'm going to write that. Signs are opposite. So our point is actually going to be positive 2, positive 1. Then we find our slope. Our slope is the number that comes in front of the parentheses in point-slope form, so it's going to be 2/3. They want us to graph that, so we're going to graph the point first. You're going to go right 2, up 1, and put a point. Then your slope is rise 2, run 3, or 2/3. So we're going to rise 1, 2 steps, run 1, 2, 3 steps, and put a point. You can do it again, but I'm going to run out of room on my graph, so I'm actually going to do the exact opposite of the slope I did before. Instead of rise 2, run to the right 3, I'm going to fall 2, run to the left 3, and put a point. And that's just to help you if you need more points and you run out of room on your graph. You can do the exact opposite of the slope. And then you've graphed your line in point-slope form. For guided practice number 2, I want you to graph this line, and I want you to use the same coordinate plane as I have here. First, find your point, and then find your slope, and then graph the line on the graph. Okay, so your point is going to be x, y, but you do the opposite signs, so that your point is going to be positive 4, negative 7, and slope is negative 4/5. So on the graph, I'm going to use that pink color. My point is positive 4, negative 7. So I'm going to go right to 4 and down 7, which is way down here. And then I'm going to fall 4, run 5, but I'm out of room on my graph. If I fall, I'm going to be out here. So I'm actually going to rise 4 and go to the left 5. So my new point's going to be over here. And then you draw your line, and I have 2 points, and 2 points make a line, so I'm going to go ahead and draw it. And there's my graph. So for example 3, we're going to use 2 points to write the equation in point-slope form. So you have 2 points on your graph. First thing I want to do is label the 2 points so I can use the coordinates. So the first point is going to be 1, 4. And then the other one is negative 2, negative 3. Okay, so we have 2 points. The first thing we need to do is find the slope. So we can do rise over run since we have a graph. And then we're going to rise 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and run 3. So rise 7, run 3. My slope is 7/3. Okay, now we're going to pick one of the points. I'm going to choose 1, 4 because I like positive numbers, and we're going to plug it into point-slope form. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. When I plug it in, I'm going to do y minus the y in my point equals the slope times x minus the x in my point. And that's my equation in point-slope form. Guided practice number 3. I want you to do the same thing with these 2 points. The first point is 3, 1. And then the other one is negative 1, positive 2. First thing I want you to do is find slope using slope formula or rise over run. Then plug it into point-slope form. When you're ready, resume the video. Alright, so rise over run, you're going to start at the point on the left. You're going to fall 1, negative 1, run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, let's try that one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. So fall 1, negative 1, run 4. So slope is negative 1, 4. Then I'm going to use the point 3, 1. In point-slope form, that's going to be y minus 1 equals negative 1/4 x minus 3. And that's my equation. Alright, example 4. Using a table to write an equation. I have this table. They're asking a bunch of questions. What equation in slope-intercept form gives the balloon's altitude at any time? What do the slope and y-intercept represent? So for slope-intercept form, we are going to have to find slope. So I'm going to use the slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we'll just call this point 1 and point 2. So that'll be 590 minus 640 over 30 minus 10. That's negative 50 over 20. And when you divide that, you get negative 2.5. So slope, with a real world problem, your slope can be a decimal. It actually represents something tangible. So we'll change it to a decimal. Now we're going to plug one coordinate and the slope into point-slope form. So I'm going to use that first point, 10, 640, and my slope is going to be negative 2.5. In point-slope form, that's going to be y minus 640 equals negative 2.5 times x minus 10. Then we have to rewrite it in slope-intercept form, which means solve for y. In other words, get the y by itself. The steps to go from point-slope form to slope-intercept form are the same every time. You're going to distribute. So you get negative 2.5x plus 25. Then you're going to solve for y, so you add 640. Your equation is going to be negative 2.5x plus 665. Guided practice number 4, we have our table. We have 2 points. I want you to put it in point-slope form. You don't have to put it in slope-intercept form. Then I want you to tell me what the slope represents. When you're ready, resume the video. Okay, so point-slope form, the first thing you want to do is find slope. So we're going to do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I get 1250 over 1, which is 1250. Now they want it in point-slope form, so we're going to pick a point. I'm just going to choose the first one. We're going to do y minus the y equals slope times x minus the x. They want to know what slope represents, and in this equation, the slope's going to represent how many gallons of water are filling the tank in 1 hour. So it's 1,250 gallons per hour. So that's what the slope represents. It's how many gallons is going into the tank per hour. Bring your outline completed tomorrow so I can give you a participation grade for it. You're going to have a quiz at the beginning of class, and I need you to watch the video for understanding. If you don't understand it now, watch it again.